feeling like I'm academics. Can't ride away.
This appeal is trying to get out of prison earlier than what is supposed to be like 2028. Now, Alexandra Shapiro, which I told you was the appellate lawyer that was on deck, she showed up to court. She was the person making sure all the objections was going up. She was really, surgical in trying to make sure no stone was unturned. And if anything was overruled or the judge didn't see it their way, they made a record that, we're going to go ask another judge about this at a later time. Now, some people would say it's a win that Sean P. Diddy Combs was not sent to jail for the rest of his life or even over 20 years. He was only given a few years, which happens to be like with everything with time served, he's going to do like 3 years left, which would be around 2028, his release. Nevertheless, he's still filing appeals because that's why he pays his lawyers, that he could possibly get out earlier, and you never know. Maybe he'll be out next year if one of these appeals are successful. So his legal team is now ripping the judge, which is Judge Arun Subramanian, and accusing him of crossing the line with the 50-month sentence. They're saying he was acting more like a juror than he was actually acting like a judge. The Diddy team has filed an appeal, and they did it late Tuesday, right, which is very important because it's before the deadline of when the courts close, and you would have to basically submit it after New Year's. But they submit it before, and it says they're saying his conviction should be overturned. So they have reasons for that. Their arguments for that is, number one, Diddy is the only person that's been convicted of, prostitution of pretty much men. He's the only guy where he's sent to jail for prostitution, in comparison to other people's cases which never had this type of conviction, right? And sentence. Okay, so remember, the sex trafficking did not only include Cassie and also Jane Doe. It included the sex workers. It was basically saying that was the prostitution, right? Also, he's making a point that how is it prostitution when Diddy never had sex with the people he paid? Remember, Cassie and Jane Doe, he's saying, I didn't pay them, even if he paid for where they lived at. He said, no. The sex acts, the freak offs I was talking about, I paid, or I paid through a surrogate, which was Jane Doe or Cassie. I paid the male sex workers. I never fucked none of them. That's what he's saying. And he's saying, how am I convicted of prostitution when I'm the only one not fucking, right? And it says it should be overturned, his conviction, and if not, it should be lightened. His lawyers have filed multiple appeals before. This one singles out the judge because it says the judge was acting as the 13th juror, right? It says in the documents, the lead appeal attorney, Alexandra Shapiro, claims the judge's draconian 50-month sentence is based on the conduct for which the actual jurors acquitted Diddy of. They're saying, the judge is looking at these other factors of him beating up Cassie or him blowing up Kid Cudi's car, but that's involved in a RICO. But the RICO he was found not guilty of. How the hell could you sentence him on a harsh level to an inordinate sentence when the things that would require that sentence, he was actually found not guilty of? It's basically said, you heard so much bullshit, even if it wasn't true, you're just going to still slam him, and that's not how it should go. Shapiro claims that Subramanian incorrectly said during sentence he could, and by the way, Subramanian did, I remember hearing this, could consider Diddy's behavior related to the more violent charges, even though he's been acquitted of them. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because supposedly the judge could consider your behavior, but your behavior throughout the charges and the things you're actually found guilty of. So, for example, if you stole, I don't know, a candy from a store, but in the process of you stealing candy from a store, you ran 5 red lights, you then went over there, you slapped this. Like, they could consider the things you weren't charged for in sentencing you for the shit that you were actually guilty of. But considering conduct for things that you've been acquitted for, that supposedly is a violation. And that's what Alexander Shapiro is actually weighing on. she calls it a violation of Diddy's constitutional rights, insisting that a sentence should only be based on 2 counts of violating the Mann Act, which is transporting individuals for the purpose of prostitution, which he was convicted of. And by the way, I think this is actually a good point. This is a good point. And if Diddy fights this, I think this might go to appeal. Now, I don't think this is appeal, go to the Supreme Court, because this is going to be a landmark thing that I think the judge, if there's not already case law, could determine, hey, could you be, say you got 15 charges and 14 of them kind of say you did some really bad things, but you got acquitted of all the really bad things, and then the last charge is you not paying your taxes, and should you get slammed because you were accused of those other things that you were found innocent of? That's going to be a good point. Now, I do think that I think the federal government, or I think the president of the United States, Donald Trump, before he gets out, I think he's going to commute the sentence of Diddy, which means he's not going to pardon him, but he's going to commute it, basically saying, hey, you have served your sentence, go home, but you'll still be a felon. I'll see if I'm right on that. You guys can remember it. Okay, cool. What the fuck was this? Rope? What the hell? In previous appeals, Diddy's team also argued he did not set up the travel or payment of the prostitutes. Therefore, he didn't violate the Mann Act. That's also a good argument. Why? You guys need to prove conspiracy, because if Diddy didn't set up the travel, that would be a conspiracy at that point, because Diddy had other people set up the travel. If you're saying Diddy is responsible for setting up the travel, which the Mann Act requires. It requires you having someone cross state lines. And if Diddy never set it up, how is he convicted of that? Federal prosecutors still have some couple months to respond before the case could go before the appellate court. Interesting. I think Diddy's going to be successful in one of these. And again, his current release date, we could look it up right now. Let's look it up. Sean Combs, 56. He's 56. And he's located at Fort Dix, FCI. And currently, his release date is 5/25/2028. So actually, 2.5 years from now. Yep, exactly 2.5 years from now. Exactly. On the dot. Today makes 2.5 years he would be out of jail. Wow. Oh, wow. So he would be, what is that, like 58? But even then, I would make a bet that he doesn't serve 2.5 years. I think through one of these appeals, he's going to be successful, or he's going to be successful on a commutation. I'd make a bet on that. It's only the Mann Act, right? Yeah. All right, people. I am getting out of here. I got to go hang with some family. I got to go, listen to all the drama that's going on. I don't know what y'all do at Christmas, but we basically eat Jamaican food, oxtail, curry goat. I don't even know if there's presents being given out, but we just sit around and talk about other family members that didn't come. Chat, I do love y'all so much, so much. Thank you guys for watching and supporting, and I will be back for tomorrow will be, I believe, day 28, right? So thank you guys for watching, and I appreciate you. Take some time out for your family today, okay? I know you guys are very content driven. Yes, I am too, but this is a time of year that we also have to make time for family. I seen Kai Cenat say something recently about how much he was streaming and his work ethic, and he kind of lamented about missing out on some stuff that was important. That does happen when you're a content creator and you're so uberly focused on getting content up and being live all the time or making videos. You forget what's important. Time spent with your family, your cousins, your nieces, your uncles, your nephews, your brothers, your sisters, your mom and your dad. So please, you guys take some time spending with family. You guys are my family. That's why I spent some time with you today. And I will see you guys tomorrow. All right? I love you. Merry Christmas, y'all. Peace.